Our next guest has a fabulous slogan. It's own your voice, own your power. Her name is Terry Mitchell. She's a speaker, she's an author, she's a coach. She's also a podcast and a YouTube channel host. Terry, welcome to The Informer.
Thank you, George. Pleasure to be here.
More importantly, we are Zooming to one another and we're living in the same state, which is really exciting, isn't it? What's it like living in lockdown Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm finding it's a real challenge to maintain a really positive and upbeat mindset. Certainly it's a lot of alone time and managing that in a healthy way.
Now, one of the things you've done that's enormously healthy is giving people hope and trying to get them to discover the inner fire. You've got a program, and what's the title of the program?
It's called Voice on Fire, and it's based on interviews with intention. So that's the foundation.
Now, talk to us. You've had an extraordinary journey. Some people say Terry's story is a simple one, but the more I read, the more complicated it became. You've suffered childhood abuse, trauma, exposure to domestic violence. You had someone who was supposed to look after you actually sexually abuse you, and yet through all of this, you seem to have grown and gathered yourself and steeled yourself to all of that went on, and redirected your energy, your passion, your anger, and you're putting it somewhere very positive. How have you managed to do that?
Well, yeah, I would never say that the journey's been an easy one, and anybody who's gone through any level of trauma of that nature knows that it's not easy. There are very dark times and often bouts of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, which do obviously surface. And sadly, I did attempt to take my own life, and I'm grateful to be able to say I failed dismally. And yet the toll that sort of experience takes on you can honestly take you in all of the wrong directions. I don't know why, but I guess I was just blessed with a really deep inner ability to just look around me and see there must be something more to this. If I've survived this, there must be something more. And I began a journey that was all about self-discovery, and I've been on that journey for quite some time, and it inspired me to realize that there are always going to be people who will be where I was. And so the journey for me is, how can I take their hand, metaphorically speaking, get them to where I am and always be that person who inspires.
Terry Mitchell, you seem to validate that line we hear a lot of: if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Oh, absolutely. And you have no choice but to be strong. As much as we talk about Australia as being, the lucky country and, the place where she'll be right, mate, and all those sorts of, euphemisms, the truth is oftentimes we're a very judgmental and critical bunch of people, and we don't intentionally go about trying to hurt each other, but it's through ignorance and lack of communication and not speaking up that we don't communicate and understand that people are hurting, and sometimes they're wearing a really good mask to cover that up. And it's time that we help people to realize, yes, you become stronger through adversity. There's no value in cotton wooling anybody. You can't sugarcoat horrible things. You've got to face them, but it's through facing them you learn your own, resilience and your own capabilities, and you discover that no matter what other people are thinking or saying or not thinking or saying, you've got to go through it to discover your own inner fire. And I guess that's not only what I'm doing for myself, but what I want to help other people to do as well.
Have you learned to read people better than some others?
Had to read people, yes, absolutely. And one of the gifts, I guess you could say, that I feel I've been blessed with is the ability to read people's energies. And it goes beyond what they say, and it goes beyond even their actions. And I've done personality profiling, so I understand, how personalities show up. But one of the things that I find really remarkable is these people have a way of holding on to energies of the past that can really blunt their ability to be themselves now. So I go through with my coaching and take people through that process on how can you reconnect with those parts of yourself that have been damaged and do the healing process retrospectively. And it's a beautiful thing to watch when people come through it, realizing that they've discovered their own inner energy again.
It sounds to me, if I can rephrase that, it seems like you've also got a great passion to teach people how to jettison all the baggage.
Yeah, and in a very, very holistic, very just really fundamental way. I mean, I really focus on understanding, and I guess my compassion and my skill comes from having lived it myself, and also having worked as a psychiatric nurse. I've witnessed what can happen when people don't know how to or are unable to, for whatever reason, to really address what's going on that is a past trauma or issue. So it's really important to be able to address them in order for us to become whole and fulfilled and find purpose and mission and value in the world.
Yeah, bless you. I think it's fantastic. We're talking to Terry Mitchell. She's a speaker, an author, a coach. She has a YouTube channel that she works hard in, and she's changing people's attitude about so many things. But Terry, can I run a line past you that is something that I've always believed in, and especially my nearly 40 years now in the media, that for me, I've always believed to succeed in anything, it's all about attitude. If your attitude is not buoyant, if it's not positive, then the moment you come up against any obstacle or any impedance, you'll shut down. Am I on the money or am I wrong?
I wouldn't say that that's necessarily right or wrong. It's obviously very individual experience, but what I really believe is that it's great to be positive, it's great to be optimistic, and it's great to have a buoyant personality. But in my mind, it's important to also have a strong sense of acceptance about all emotions. There's no good or bad emotion. Really, we need to feel them. Those emotions were given to us as biological gifts to help us survive. So anger and fear are equally as important as love and nurturance. So if we don't feel those emotions, how do we protect ourselves?
Gotcha.
But we need to know how to feel them without them controlling us. We need to know how to use them as proper energy. And I always consider that one of the things I often say is use your fear as your fuel. And that's what it's there for. It's to drive you. It's to help you find the spirit and energy to progress through a challenge or a trauma.
What confidence or what advice do you have for people who struggle in the stillness, when things are still and they're there just with their thoughts and you can see them getting agitated? What advice do you have to people like that who get bothered by the stillness?
The most amazing tool that we all have available to us is breathing. It's as simple as that, but it's not simple. And if breathing was so simple, everyone would do it properly and we wouldn't have so many challenges with anxiety and so many other issues. By breathing, I really focus on the deep, relaxed, controlled, soulful belly breathing. And it's the ability to recognize how all of the muscles of the body are responding and how the mind is working on allowing that to happen. So in the slightest hint of agitation, take some slow, controlled, deep belly breaths, and it calms everything down. Breathing is an essential part of life, and breathing is the very first thing that I take people through. And I often ask people, and I actually, more often than not, I say it to them because I can pick up on it, that people are breath holders, by which I mean they either are very shallow breathers, they don't breathe into their belly, or in any state of anxiety or panic or anger, they tend to hold their breath and then not breathe deeply and fully. And that just agitates everything. So I'm a big advocate for really controlled deep breathing. It's an amazing healing process.
Where have you done all this learning, Terry Mitchell?
I've probably been learning it for as long as you've been in the media, George.
Wow.
It's been something that I started as a result of my own healing journey, and I had to do that, and it's been something I've done for probably the last 30 odd years.
Well, more power to you. If people want to hear more, if they want to catch up with and reach out to Terry Mitchel, what's the best way to go about it, Terry?
There's a couple of easy ways. The website is quite simply my name, so it's terrymitchel.com.au. And
That's
all of
Terry
the
with
ways
an I, correct?
It is correct, yes.
Yep.
Terri, and then the surname is Mitchell, Mitchell, all one word. And it is .com.au because there are several Terry Mitchells in the world, I've discovered. It's simply just a case of jump onto my website and you can reach out to me various ways there. I'm on Facebook and I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to offer. I often say, look, it's better to offer 3 free sessions. If someone needs to talk to somebody, I am more than open to offering 3 free sessions to see if I can help shift any of those things that might be causing agitation. And if they then decide that they would really like to work with me, then we can have that conversation. But I find it's really valuable today, particularly in COVID times. People are hurting, and I just want to let people know that there are people like myself out there who knows what it feels like to hurt and to be, who need to be heard. And, there's nothing like validation and being heard and valued.
100%. I'd like to leave this on a lighter note. If Daniel Andrews rings you, taking the call?
Oh, absolutely. And respectfully, there's a lot of people that are bagging Dan Andrews out, and I'm not a political fan of anybody. I really don't like politics. But I really would positively challenge anybody who isn't a state leader or someone who's run a country before to get in and do what he's had to go through in a once in a 100-year crisis. I don't think any of us know how to deal with this.
No,
I
take your point. The challenge always is to make sure that you're listening to everyone around you and making decisions that are sound and based on the sorts of things that you need all leaders to base their judgments on. Terry Mitchel, you've been terrific. Thank you for giving us an insight into some of this journey. As I said, at first glance, you think it's a simple story. It isn't. Terry Mitchel's story is a very complicated one, and it's made you the person you are today. Thank you for joining us on The Informer.
Thank you so much, George. It's been a total pleasure.
Pleasure.